All right, good morning, GACE 2013. How's everyone feeling? All right. I'm glad our guest today was not at the banquet last night. He may have seen us in a different light based on how we were looking, especially me. Okay, so be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Turn pressure into pleasure. Let your emotions control your performance. These are quotes made by our guest speaker today, and they're going to give us a little window into some of the ways that his words are going to transform us today. I hope we're ready, as always, to bring it. So if you haven't had your breakfast, please make your way back to the back. Dr. Greg Steinberg is with us today. He's going to talk about how we can fall back into greatness. Now, what does that mean? Dr. Steinberg has over 30 years of experience. He's taught some of the world's best athletes and business executives to maximize their performance. And he's going to bring a little bit of that expertise with us today. See, he's even helping our staff to maximize their performance. By the way, please give our staff a hand again for the fantastic job they've been doing in helping us. We have all gained 15 to 20 pounds, and it's all thanks to you all, so appreciate it. Now, back to Dr. Steinberg. He's the best-selling author of 3 books, including his first book, Mental Rules for Golf, which was endorsed by Tiger Woods. He's made countless TV and radio appearances on CNN, Fox News, and the Golf Channel. Dr. Steinberg received his PhD in Human Performance from the University of Florida, and he's a current professor at Austin Peay State University. He's centered his efforts career-wise around the philosophy that when you master your emotions, you master your world. So he's going to share some entertaining stories with you today, but he's also going to give us some practical tools to apply that knowledge to our lives, which is why it's perfect that he's batting cleanup today. I'll give you a bit of a heads up, though. He does encourage active audience participation. So if you didn't come awake, he'll wake you up today. And also another fun fact, he's been on Dancing with the Stars. All right, it's good stuff. So without further ado, please let me introduce Dr. Greg Steinberg.
Thanks, Terrence. When people find out I've been on Dance with the Stars, I always get the 3 same questions. One is, are the dancers really that good in person? 2 is Bruno the judge really that mean in person? And 3, how in the heck did you get on Dance with the Stars? And I hope you didn't dance. And I know you were thinking the same thing. And let me tell you, no, I did not dance. Case in point, this is my wedding dance. We got married a couple years ago, 2 years ago, in fact, and we have a lovely young boy now, 4 months, Miles Thomas. It took me 4 months to learn this 2-minute dance. 4 months. And if you can see my lovely wife, Tommy, she's gritting her teeth saying, "Stop stepping on my feet, please." So no, I didn't dance. What I did was I explained to the audience how these stars could learn a new dance every week and the pressure they faced every week, week in and week out. And the same strategies that I spoke about on Dance with the Stars and the strategies to handle the pressure relate to your life, because you're under a lot of pressure in career services. You're under a lot of pressure in your lives. Pressure's relative, and you're under a lot of pressure to help students find that career they love, to find that career that's going to be fulfilling, and so that they're going to be happy in their life. And if you really care about what you do, and I know you do in career services, it just adds fuel to the fire in terms of this pressure equation. And I know there's also challenges in career services at this moment with the economy, finding the right jobs. And also, I know you have the unappreciative student, which is always a challenge. I know you have those students that when, no matter what you do, no matter how much effort you put into the advance of getting them the right job, they just don't care. And I am a professor, so I know the unappreciative student, and I know that can be demotivating. I know no matter how much effort you put into the lecture, all they want to know is this going to be on the test? So I know the unappreciative student, and I have to admit something to you. When I was in college, I had much goofier hair than I do now. No, when I was in college, I didn't see someone in career services. I didn't see a career counselor, and I was lost in college. I should have seen someone, and if I had, they would have placed me on the path that I am today much quicker. So what you do in career services is so important. It's so important. And I know there's been times when you worked with that difficult student or client and you nailed it. You made them find, you got them that right job, and you know it's the perfect job for them and they're going to be fulfilled and they're going to be happy in their lives, and that made you feel so good inside. It made you have those great emotions. Well, that is why I'm here this morning. I'm going to help you tap into those great emotions, because what I believe is when you rise to the occasion by falling back into these great emotions, everybody who I've discovered is successful in their lives can raise their game by falling back into great habits. And that is what I'm going to show you how to do this morning. And I'm going to show you my method. And the first step in this method is to be emotionally aware. I learned this really powerful lesson when I was 15. When I was 15, that's me. I was on the tennis team. I still had goofy hair back then. Don't mind the wood racket. And see the short shorts, it's the 70s. What can I say? And I've kept those shorts because I know they're going to come back in style. They might not fit, but I know they're going to come back in style. Well, when I was 15, I had a great life. And then all of a sudden, my dad died. And I remember I went from a terrible teen in just a moment. And I started getting into fights. I started yelling at teachers. And then luckily, the vice principal cared, and he called me in the office, and he said, "Greg, you're going to be expelled if you don't see Dr. Carlson." And I was like, "I don't want to see Dr. Carlson. I don't want to see a shrink. I don't even know what a shrink is, and I didn't want to see one." But he insisted. And so my mom took me to see Dr. Carlson that afternoon. And when I met with Dr. Carlson, within just 2 minutes, he knew what was blocking me. And he grabbed a pillow from the couch, and he grabbed it, and he said, "Greg, I want you to pretend this pillow is your dad, and I want you to start hitting it." And I'm like, "I don't want to hit that pillow if it's my dad." And he said, "No, just go with it." So I took the pillow, and I just gingerly started hitting it, and then all of a sudden I started hitting it harder, and then all of a sudden my emotions got out of whack, and I threw that pillow on the ground, and I stomped on it, and I yelled out a painful scream. And that was the first step in my journey. And I know some of you have lost a parent when you were young, and maybe you repressed those emotions like I had. And don't worry, we're not handing out pillows this morning. But when I discovered my emotions and what was blocking me, and when I discovered and became aware of my anger and my sadness because my dad died, it actually allowed me to control my emotions, and it put me on the right path. And that was a watershed moment in my life. And I remember vowing to understand how successful people become successful and how successful people master their emotions. And so for the last 30 years, I've studied performance psychology. I've worked with some of the greatest athletes in the world, some from the PGA Tour. I don't know if you're familiar with Brandt Snedeker, but he won the FedEx Cup last year. I worked with him. I worked with people from the NFL, NBA. I worked with CEOs from businesses, and I worked with folks just like you. And what I've discovered in all my work and my research is that all these successful people, they can raise their game because they fall back into these great emotions. And that's really the secret to success, is under pressure, they can rise to the occasion by falling back time and time and time and time again into these great emotions. And one of my favorite stories is about Michael Jordan. I'm a big fan of Michael Jordan. I'm sure some of you are big fans, and you know he's worthy of fandom. He's considered one of the greatest basketball players of all time, as all of us know. And this story happened about 20 years ago, a little more than 20 years ago. The Chicago Bulls were playing their arch nemesis, the Detroit Pistons. And back then, the Chicago Bulls have never beaten the Detroit Pistons in a conference game. Well, it's the second game of the series, and they're saying Michael Jordan's sick. He's not going to play. He's been throwing up in the locker room. there's no way he's going to play. And you watch Michael as he comes out. He's walking very gingerly. He doesn't take any practice shots. But when the bell went off and the game started, he became Michael Jordan superstar. He scored 60 points. The Bulls won that series, and they went on to their first NBA Finals and, of course, a dynasty. And everybody asked me, how do people like Michael Jordan do it? How do players and athletes and CEOs, how do they raise their game under pressure like that? And I would tell you in 2 words, emotional mastery. They can master their emotions when they need to. And this emotional mastery starts with what I call the emotional triad of greatness. And this is what I want to share with you today. And I want to share with you how to apply this to your life so that you can rise to the occasion when the pressure comes in your life. When you have an unappreciative student, or the economy takes a turn and you know there's no jobs out there, and you just feel that pressure inside and you're not as motivated as you want to be, I'm going to show you how to rise to the occasion day in and day out, and it stems with following the emotional triad of greatness. And the first step in this process is to be emotionally aware. But more particularly, it's being emotionally aware of your best state, what I call your sweet spot. I know you heard about that before, but I call it your sweet spot. And it's the emotions associated and the situations that push your emotions in the direction of your sweet spot. Now, what's interesting about brain science, we know in brain science that your best emotions and your best emotional state is locked in there, but also these horrific emotional states are locked in there, right? And I'll give you a perfect example. When I say 9/11, and I say, what was happening to you during 9/11? That comes up, right? That situation comes up instantaneously. For me, I remember I had a student come in, and she says, we're at war, and I'm like, what? She said, they just bombed the Trade Center towers. And I remember thinking, what is going on? And I remember what she said and how she looked and what she was wearing. It's locked in there forever. But also, our best emotions are locked in there forever. And what I've discovered is the most successful people can tap into those best emotions over and over and over again. Like Michael Jordan, like the best CEOs, like I'm going to show you how to do today. And this relates to the second point of this triad, which is you emotionally prepare yourself. And you do that by creating primers, which are words, actions, and images, which push your emotions in the right direction. And you typically do that through routines. And if you use your routine over and over and over and over again, what happens is it becomes a habit. And this is the oldest psychological principle in the book, and that is we go to our habits under pressure. We go to our habits under pressure. And I bet you can relate to this. A lot of us fall back into bad habits under pressure, right? Who does this? Raise your hand. When you're sad, you overeat. Okay, you don't have to raise your hand about that one. Okay, who does this? They give you, when you're stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off, you really get upset and then you give them the magic finger. Okay, that's not the magic finger, but you know what I'm talking about. That's a bad habit. Road rage is a bad habit, okay? And then who does this? When you have that unappreciative student and you just don't feel like it, you just get demotivated and you just turn off. Well, that's a bad habit too, right? It's so easy to fall back into bad habits when we're tired, when we're depressed, when we don't feel like it. That is a human nature to do. But what I've discovered is that the most successful people, they don't necessarily fall back into bad habits. They actually fall forward into their great habits. They've learned to push themselves and fall forward into great habits. And the greatest example I could give you, and someone who follows this triad to a T, and I know you've heard this story before, is Flight 1549 out of LaGuardia. Remember when the Canadian geese hit the engines and the engines went out and Captain Sullenberger landed the plane in the Hudson River? Well, I know you heard that story, but I don't think you've heard the entire story, because when the engines went out, all of a sudden Captain Sullenberger realized there's something seriously wrong, and his heart rate went out of control, and his eyesight was going in and out, and his thoughts were going back to his 2 young daughters. One was having a birthday party that Saturday, and he said no, took some deep breaths. He knew how to remain calm and collected to make the right decision, and he made the right decision, and he landed the plane in the Hudson River. And we all know of this picture, right? This is the iconic picture of that plane in the Hudson River, and they call that the miracle flight of 1549. Remember that? Well, let me tell you, there was nothing miraculous about that flight. There was nothing miraculous about that flight because Captain Sullenberger had prepared for 20 years for this one particular moment. He emotionally prepared for this one particular moment. In fact, he listened to recorders of crashed planes, and he listened to the erroneous decisions that those pilots made, and he realized the pilots made those horrific decisions and crashed the planes because their emotions were out of whack. And so he created a U.S. Air Safety course in which he trained pilots to remain calm and collected. And he knew his sweet spot. His sweet spot was to remain calm, cool, and collected. And he trained himself for 20 years to find that sweet spot, to get in that sweet spot instantaneously, and so he could make the right decision. And so he made the right decision, and he saved all those people that day. And he was using the method that I'm going to explain to you and how to apply it to your life. Now, I hope, and I don't expect anybody's going to land a plane without engines, but pressure is relative, like I said before. You feel so much pressure in your lives in career services and in everything in your life. There's pressure being a great parent. There's pressure making enough money for the mortgage. There's pressure in your life day in and day out. You have to find your best emotions to be successful every day, no matter what you do. And so the best way for me to show you how to use this method and to apply this method is to bring someone on stage and to show you how I use this method with elite athletes, with business executives, with everybody I work with, so that you can take away from this conference a really substantial, hands-on method so that you will be your best when it really counts. So Katrina, Milam, come on down. And so, of course, we have to introduce Katrina. So tell us, probably everybody knows who you are, but go ahead and just tell us what you do in case someone doesn't.
I'm a campus recruiter with Turner Broadcasting.
Yes. I asked you about all those CNN questions. You don't work for CNN, though.
I recruit for CNN.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, I reported.
She yelled at me when I asked her if she worked for CNN.
CNN is a property. Belonging to TBS, TNT, Cartoon Network, and a bunch of others.
Okay. Yes, thank you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to explain the method, showing the method with Katrina. But as Terrence said, this is totally hands-on, very interactive. And so I'm going to have you do the same method actually at the table. So make sure right now you have a piece of paper and a pen. So everybody needs a piece of paper and a pen.
Feels like a spotlight up here.
I know. Come over here. It's probably easier. I know. I keep on walking over there and bam. Okay, so here's the start of the method. So I'm going to ask Katrina. Why don't you stand right here? Okay. Tell us a time when you were at your best. Now, it really needs to be a performance setting. Okay, it could be like back in high school in sport. Could be when you're working with that difficult student or that difficult recruiter. I'm just kidding about the recruiting. But the idea here is the idea is that you got to get that performance setting and think about a time when you were just nailing it. You were at your best. So, of course, I already asked Katrina this question. So, why don't you tell us a time when you were at your best?
We recently started rating interns on performance, and that took some buy-in from a lot of people, but most importantly, it was our HR generalists. And so I had to give a presentation to tell them how it would add value and why they should support it and what their role would be, which was mostly minimal, and it went pretty well. We didn't get any pushback, just some ideas about how to do it, and we have it a year and a month later today.
So usually in a best state or a sweet spot moment, you're not quite sure what's going to happen. So it's a big challenge and you're not quite sure. And then also to conceptualize this moment, and I'm going to have you do it in a minute, I also believe that there's 5 levels. So there's confidence, there's energy, there's enjoyment, there's nervousness, and there's thinking and reacting. So Christina, tell us, was your confidence high, medium, or low during that moment?
It was pretty high.
Pretty high. What was your energy, like your intensity level? Was it high, medium, or low?
My energy was probably kind of medium. It was some nervousness, but I was kind of focused.
And so you were, and that relates to the next one, which is nervousness, which is about medium. Were you thinking or reacting?
Mostly reacting because it was like a prepared presentation.
Okay, so you were prepared, but you could react to that moment. Okay, so for you, this is what I want you to do right now. Just in 2 or 3 sentences, think about a time when you were your best. Remember, it could be in sport, it could be at job, it could be parenting, a performance setting, a specific performance setting when you're at your best, and just describe it in 2 sentences. So go ahead and do that. You'll see where we're leading with this, because this is going to help in the next step. And then when you're done with that, why don't you go ahead and see those 5 levels? Just say if you're high, medium, or low in each of those levels. Okay? High, medium, or low, each of those levels. Okay, one more thing. Okay, look at that description and just circle a few words that jumped out at you, a few emotionally laden words. Just circle a couple of them, because you'll see where we're going with this in a minute. Okay? So just see if you could circle a couple words in there. All right? Now, here's why this process is so powerful, and it's different from other people's who has explained this, and why I think it will allow you to understand and capture this better. We have our best state, but we also have to be aware of our worst state. You know, that time you just choked and, oh, it was terrible. So I'm going to ask Katrina a time when she just choked. She was terrible. So go ahead. I know it's a little embarrassing, but go ahead with that.
Since it was many years ago.
Yeah, many, many years ago.
I will admit that I completely bombed my SATs, like embarrassingly bombed my SATs.
Okay, totally bombed. And a lot of us do that, of course. And related to these 5 levels, what would be one main difference between these 5 levels, between your best state and your worst state?
There's a couple. I mean, I
just
had no confidence, and I was not enjoying any bit of that.
Okay. And you also told me you were probably thinking too much, right?
Well, yeah, I don't do good with regurgitation. And it doesn't, especially if it doesn't resonate with me in any kind of fashion. It's just memorization of how to do things.
Right, okay. And now this relates to you. Now, write down a time when you were just choking. You were at your worst, okay? In just 2 sentences, a time when you were at your worst, all right? So it could be, again, sport, could be work, could be parenting situations, whatever it is. And then after that, again, circle a couple words related, emotionally related words in that paragraph or 2 sentences related to your worst state, okay? And one more thing, out of those 5 levels, what would be one main difference between your best state and your worst state? What would be one main difference? Usually one main difference jumps out at you. And that is the difference you need to focus on. Okay, so you'll see where we're going to go with this in a minute. So the next step in this process is to create buzzwords, images, and actions to push your emotions towards your sweet spot. And usually, if you can do it, if there was one main difference, you want these images, these actions, and these buzzwords to focus on that, because that will be the one main thing you are going to need to work on to push your emotions in the right direction. So with Katrina, we already talked about this because this is difficult, and that's why we are actually going to help you find a buzzword in a minute. But what was the buzzword that we had for you, or you created for yourself?
It was zig and zag.
Zig and zag, okay? And why zigzag?
Because I do better when I'm reacting.
Right, you do, she does better. That was, when we talked, one main difference was when she was reacting, she was at her best. And so we talked about what would be a powerful word. You know, if you think about it, if you could pick a word that creates an emotion, think about zig and zagging. That is a very powerful, it's an image, it's a powerful, emotionally related word. It's going to help you push your emotions in the right direction. So what would be an image? And an image you could use of the time when you're at your best, or did you have a different image?
I mean, after the word was created, kind of image. I mean, imagine zigging and zagging.
Okay, zigging and
pretty
zagging.
literally.
And what could be an action?
An action to get myself.
Zigging and zagging. You might just, you know, an action related to that feeling could be that you feel like you're doing this or something. You're zigging and zagging, or you just feel like a zig and zag. Whatever it might be, because that's kind of an action. Could be something like you put your, you know, you slap your thigh, or you smile, or you kind of make a movement, because actions actually stimulate emotions. So that's why it's real important to have words, images, and actions. Now, here's what we're going to do. Now, even though Katrina is up here, everybody is going to be involved in this process. So this is what I want you to do, and I'm going to come out into the audience in just 1 minute. I want everybody, we're just going to keep it simple, I want everybody to get a buzzword. Now, here's probably the best way to get a buzzword, or buzzwords. So it could be 1 word, or 2 words, or 3 words. It could be things like find the fire, or make a difference, or just share, or zigging and zagging. Look at those words you circled in the best state versus your worst state, and there should be a couple words that just jump out at you related to your best state, and hopefully related to your difference between your best state and your worst state. So what I'm going to do right now, thanks, stay up here for a second, is I'm going to come out to the audience, and I'm going to ask you for some of your buzzwords. Now, this is how it usually works. The people that don't want to give me their buzzwords, that turn away, or that's the people I'm going to ask. Okay. So remember, think about a buzzword or words that relate to your best states, and usually capture the difference between your best state and your worst state. Okay? You ready? Okay. Buzzwords.
Be about it.
Be about it. Why be about it?
I perform better when I'm positive, when I have a positive outlook.
Okay.
When I don't give up.
So be about it means like being totally engaged? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. All right. So a couple more. You ready? Buzzword.
Have faith.
Have faith. Okay, why have faith?
You just have to believe in yourself.
Okay, so belief. Okay, good. Buzzword.
In the moment,
In the moment. Why in the moment?
just to remind yourself to be there, and you spend so much time prepping for it just to be.
So you're totally, so again, you're kind of engaged, and you're not thinking about necessarily the outcome. You're just totally engaged in the moment. Okay, and that's when you're at your best?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you ready? Buzzword.
Hot like fire.
Yes, you are. I'm practicing my Oprah moments. Okay. Why hot like fire?
Because when I'm prepared, I'm on fire.
Okay, good.
Helping the students.
And being on fire makes you, it brings up that great emotion, right? And when you're at your worst state, you're probably flat, right? So what's your first name?
Brenda.
Brenda. So Brenda's main difference up to those 5 levels was energy, right? So when you're like, your energy is so high, you're at your best, and when you're not, you're at your worst. And if you could find a buzzword to associate the difference, that will push you in the right direction. And we'll talk about how to do that in more detail in a minute. So that was a great one. Okay, a couple more. Buzzword.
I knew you were coming to me.
Okay, don't be shy.
Let it flow.
Let it flow. Why let it flow?
It just reminds me that if I get a little nervous, I'm confident. I know what I'm talking about. And I just let it
Right, so you're not worried about what you're saying, you're just
Yeah.
reacting. So it's more about reacting.
Reacting.
It's kind of like zigging and zagging, but that's Katrina's word. You can't use her word.
I like that. I
Okay.
would have it.
One more. Here we go. Shoot. No, shoot will not work. Shoot is a bad buzzword.
Hold your head up
Holds your head up. Why?
for confidence.
Oh, for confidence. Okay, and that could be an action too,
Right.
which we're going to talk about in a minute. Okay, so that was good. Oh, you thought you were going to get away with it, didn't you? No, 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 no. Everybody has to stand up. Let's go. Come on, have fun with it. All right, and then count of 3, everybody has to tell me their buzzwords, okay? 1, 2, 2.5, 3. All right, very good. Okay, those are great buzzwords. Okay, you can sit down. Okay. And Katrina, thank you very much. Yeah. So, it's only fair that you told me your buzzwords, that I tell you mine. So let me tell you the situation. It was a really cool situation that happened to me about 10 years ago. I was speaking at Millbrook School. It's this prep school in upstate New York. I don't know if anybody knows about it. All the students go to Yale and Harvard. It's this idyllic setting. They filmed a lot of movies there regarding Henry and World According to Garp, and it's just a beautiful setting. And at this school, all the students have to play 2 sports. And let me tell you, most of them can't even play 1 sport, but they have to play 2. And I was going to do a talk on mental toughness. And I'm speaking in this beautiful chapel on a hill. And as I got in there, I could tell all the students are like totally engaged, and they're just like listening to my every moment. And I was talking about confidence and composure. And as I was doing that, I literally felt myself go outside my body and saying to myself, "You're doing a great job, Greg. Way to go." That was my peak moment, my sweet spot moment. And what it felt like to me was that I was just sharing about my knowledge to the kids. I know when I choke and I really stink, I'm proving. So when I'm proving myself, like on TV, or I'm proving how good a sports psychologist or speaker, I feel too much anxiety. But if I'm just sharing, then I feel joyous, because sharing is a joyous state. So that's my buzzword, just share. And my action is I go like this. So, I just kind of put my hands together. That's like, for me, sharing. And then I think about that moment in time, going back to Millbrook School, because it's locked in there forever. I mean, I can see it. I mean, it's locked in there. And what I do is every time before I speak, or before I teach in class, or before I work with a client, I use my buzzwords, I use my action, and I use my images in a routine, which pushes my emotions in the right direction. And what you want to do is you want to create your own sweet spot habit, because we're all unique, right? I'm unique, you're unique, Terrence, you're not so unique, but it's okay. Everybody's unique, and so you have to create your sweet spot habit with certain words that relate to you, that resonate with you, certain actions that resonate with you, and images. And the idea here is that actions, images, and words are actually primers. Primers are powerful stimuli which pushes our emotions in the right direction. And I think you can relate to this powerful stimuli, music, right? Everybody can relate to music and how powerful and how it can push your emotions in the right direction. I think you relate to this situation. Last night I came in, it was late. It took me 45 minutes to get the rental car. I don't know what was going on. I mean, they were lost there. I got here and there was traffic. I was just tired. I just wanted to get to the hotel, take a shower, relax. And then all of a sudden that song comes on. And for me, it's Move Like Jagger by Maroon 5. I just love that song. I mean, it just gets me, man. It just gets me. And all of a sudden I start doing the finger bop, and then the thumb roll, and then of course the chicken. And then I had to do my lip thing because it was Mick Jagger. And I got to a light, and I didn't realize I was doing it, and I turned, and there he was. It was a cop. He's looking at me in this puzzled look, and I knew exactly what he was thinking at that moment. He was thinking, that guy is a great dancer. But primers push our emotions in the right direction. And to prove it to you, we're going to do a fun experiment, a couple fun experiments right now, because I know everybody likes to be in an experiment. So what we're going to do is, right here, down the middle, wherever you want to be, this is group A, and this is group B, okay? Don't forget your letter. This is group A, and this is group B, okay? Group B, you have to turn away from the screen, okay? Because I'm going to give group A a word. So group B, don't look at the screen. Okay, group A, look at the screen. This is your word. Okay, now group A, turn away from the screen. Don't look at the screen. Okay, group B, look at the screen. This is your word. Okay, now everybody look at the screen. Okay, what were you guys thinking of? Quick. Chicken soup. Okay, what were you guys thinking? Soap. Okay, who's thinking soap over here? If you're thinking chicken soap, you need to see me after, because there's something seriously wrong with you. I'm sorry. Chicken, it's soap, right? And the idea here is that I gave you a word, and it pushed your emotions to think about a different word, to feel something in a certain direction. Okay, let's do another one. Group A, you have to smile. Okay, just give me a fake smile. I know it's fake. Okay. Group B, you have to scowl. Give me like that crinkle right here. Just make a crinkle right here, okay? All right? You ready? Okay. Now, this is one of my favorite Gary Larson's cartoons. It says, the real reason dinosaurs became extinct, and they're smoking, right? Okay. What we discovered is the people that are smiling, their laugh-o-meter enjoyed this cartoon much more than the people that were scowling. Isn't that interesting? If you scowled, you didn't like this cartoon as much. That's because an action pushed our emotions in a certain direction, right? Okay, let's do one more related to images. Group A, we showed you a scene of older adults, okay? A couple images of older adults. Group B, we showed you a scene of younger adults, okay? Just a couple scenes of younger adults. That wasn't the experiment. Here's what the experiment was. We had you walk down the hall to a different room, and amazingly, the people that saw older adults actually walked slower. Isn't that amazing? And you're thinking, there is no way I would do that. Well, it's true. It's true because primers work below our conscious level. They work in our subconscious. And they're so powerful. Why do advertisers spend millions of dollars on words to push our emotions in the right direction? I mean, really, who needs a ShamWow? Does anybody need a ShamWow? Nobody, but we buy them because they use primers and images to push our emotions to make that purchase. So really what I'm asking you today is to take control of your primers, to be the master of your primers so that you can push your emotions in the right direction time and time and time again. And we're going to do one more fun thing. It's called primary routine. And this is what we're going to do, and I'll just explain it to you, and we'll do it. I'm going to have you close your eyes. I want you to think about a challenging situation that's going to come up in the next couple weeks. And then I want to have you image yourself walking into that challenging situation. But right before you do that, I want you to say your buzzword in your mind. And then go into that situation and feel those great emotions. So everybody, just go with me. Close your eyes, okay? All right, you're about to walk into that challenging situation. You just said your buzzword, and you feel those great emotions. Okay, wait, stop. All right, open your eyes, open your eyes. Okay, really be honest with me. When you said that buzzword, who felt great emotions? Okay, a couple of you. You are going to be superstars in this method, but most of you didn't feel it. And the reason why you didn't feel it is because, one, you haven't practiced it, and two, you might not believe in these type of methods, these self-help methods. Now I understand a lot of you, and probably most of you, have read some type of self-help book. And I know maybe you were trying to lose weight or have a better relationship, and you read these books and they didn't really help, and so you're frustrated. Maybe you're ashamed because you didn't stick with the program. And I know there's a lot of self-help books out there that are hooey. They don't work, and they just, I don't know who wrote them. But let me tell you, this technique is not like other techniques because it's based in your own uniqueness. And because it's based in your own uniqueness, it's so powerful. It's also based in the science of habit formation. And so let me explain really the new science of habit formation with a question. What do you think is the main reason why people stick with an exercise program? What do you think is the main number one reason? And I know some of you are probably thinking because you did it every day, right? Or you worked out with a partner, or you're trying to lose weight. That's not the number one reason. The number one reason why you stuck with an exercise program is this. Because when you exercised, you felt good. And because you felt good, you did it over and over and over again. And the people that don't stick with exercise programs is because when they exercise, they just feel tired or sore. That's why they quit. But when you exercise and you feel good, you're going to stick with that program over and over again. Well, the process I'm talking to you today is the same thing. If you do your routine and you have a powerful word, that right buzzword that just resonates with you, and that action, that image, it's going to push your emotions into your sweet spot. Just a little bit. It's going to push your emotions just a little bit. It's going to make you feel good because your sweet spot is a good feeling. And because it makes you feel good, you're going to do it over again. You might try it at night. You might try it in the morning. And then eventually you're going to use it again and again and again. It's going to become a routine for you, like it has for me. And then all of a sudden, it's going to become a habit. You're going to be able to rise to the occasion by falling back into these great emotions. You're going to be able to raise your game by actually falling forward, by pushing your emotions forward into these great emotions because it's become a habit. Not because it was a miracle, because you believed in it and because you practiced it. And so when you need to have these great emotions, when you have that difficult client, when the economy takes a dive and people are frustrated, when your kids are screaming and yelling at you, whatever it is, when you need to get inspired quickly, you need to have a system to push your emotions in the right direction. And the method that I'm describing to you this morning is a very powerful system. Now, what's interesting is it's kind of like a secret in peak performance. And I think some of you probably already do this a little bit already, right? And if you look around, now that I've kind of brought light to this method, you'll see it everywhere. You'll start seeing it. It'll come out of the woodwork. I remember this past summer, Joel Osteen came to Nashville, where I live. I really like his message. My wife really likes him. You probably know who he is. He's that televangelist speaker from Houston. And so we saw him in this big arena, and I wanted to see what his charisma was because people really love Joel Osteen. And when I got there, I realized what his charisma and where it came from. It came from his mother. His mother's 5'0". She comes on stage. She's this great ball of energy, and she runs around, and all of a sudden she said, I was diagnosed with cancer 20 years ago, and the doctor gave me a year to live. And so I did the chemo, and I lost my hair, and my skin turned a different color, and I didn't want to feel sick. I didn't want to look sick. So what I did was I took pictures, images of my best state, of when I was with my family in Thanksgiving, when I was on the mountains, when I was at the beach, and I posted them all over the house. And every day, 20 times a day, I'd point at these pictures and say, you are healthy, you are healthy, you are healthy, you are healthy. And then she said, today, I'm cancer-free. My cancer's in remission. Now, I know there's a lot of reasons why she's healthy, but I know in my heart, this method that I'm sharing with you today helped her have healthier emotions. It's a very powerful method. It just doesn't work for work. It's not just for sport, it's for life. It works across every venue. And so what I wanted to finish with today is a little tidbit that will help you incorporate this into your life. And I call it the sweet spot alarm clock. And the sweet spot alarm clock is this. You know, around 2 o'clock when your emotions take a dive, right? Everybody around 2 o'clock, you're taking that dive, right? And you reach for that sugary drink, or you reach for that cookie, or even worse, you reach for that 5-hour energy drink. Not anymore. What I want you to do is I want you to have your alarm clock, your sweet spot alarm clock go off. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, I'm a bad alarm clock, I get it. But when it goes off, I want you to say your word. I want you to say your action. I want you to think about that image. And it's going to push your emotions in the right direction. And you'll see that when it pushes your emotions in the right direction, just a little bit, you're going to want to use it over and over and over again. And so that you'll incorporate it into your life. And so that it will be a very powerful method that you can use time and time again. Because we know small changes in your life can have a huge impact in your life. And so by just incorporating this little thing like the sweet spot alarm clock at 2 o'clock, you'll see how this method really works. And because it pushed you in the right direction, you're going to say, hey, this stuff really does work, and you're going to use it over and over and over again. So it will become a habit, so that you will be able to rise to the occasion by falling forward into great emotions. And let me finish with a proverb that I think a lot of you know, one of my favorite sayings, and that is, when you give a person a fish, they eat for a day. When you teach a person to fish, they eat for a lifetime. I know we all heard that. Well, hopefully I just didn't throw you a fish today. That wasn't my goal. My goal today was to give you the strategies and tools so that you could coach yourself to greatness, so that you could push your emotions in the direction you need to time and time and time again. And it was my goal today to help you coach others and to give others the tools like buzzwords, images, and actions so that they can push themselves to greatness when it really counts time and time again. Because you need to be at your best in every situation for the rest of your life. So I thank you for your time and your energy. Have a safe trip home.
All right, thank you, Dr. Steinberg, for those great words. We'll have Amanda Sparks from Response Mind Interactive to give you a token of our appreciation.
So on behalf of our agency and the GACE Conference Committee, Schmogget.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And Dr. Steinberg does have copies of his book on sale out in the lobby. They are $20, but $10 of those sales goes back to GACE. So an awesome fundraiser Dr. Steinberg has offered for us. He also has copies of his first book for sale outside too. So please go grab a book. We already gave away 30 of those to the first 30 folks who registered for the conference. So please get those books also. Now we're going to have Laura. Oh, she's counting up the tweets for the prizes. So we'll take a quick 3-5 minute break and come back and do our door prize sales.
But I'll tell them I'll be out there.
Dr. Steinberg will also be out there to sign the books if you want to purchase a book also. $20 cash only. We don't have.
First of all, if you could say your name and spell it for me and your title.
Okay. You want my title for the association or for just in life?
Maybe both.
Both? Okay. My name is Michael Dutcher, and I am the co-chair for our conference for the Georgia Association of College Employers. I'm also an associate director with Kennesaw State University. My name is Michael Dutcher.
And if you could tell me who your speaker was today, what he talked about, and what it meant to you, or what he thought of it.
Yeah. Today's speaker was Dr. Greg Steinberg, and he talked about falling into greatness. And it was a perfect ending for our conference, and our attendees really enjoyed all the content that he brought forward, especially the methods that he encouraged our attendees to put into practice to take back to their professional lives, but also just their family lives and work life in general.
Cool. And was there anything in particular that you took from it, a specific, like, do you have a buzzword?
Yeah, one of the great things that about...
Actually, sorry, if you can look towards me.
I can look at you, okay. One of the great things about his presentation is the simplicity of when you walk away, you can really put it into practice as soon as you walk out the door. And being able to use your buzzword and be able to implement that, whether it is back at work, whether it's back at home, you can start that as soon as you leave his presentation. And so my buzzword is sriracha, and I'll be able to use sriracha now for the rest of my life to kind of help me perform at my best, my emotions at the peak of their performance.
Isn't that the spice?
Yeah.
The Thai spice?
Yeah, it's the spice. Yeah, we had.
You could say your name and spell it and your
Okay.
title.
Okay. I'm Brenda Respress, BrendaRespress. I'm the program coordinator in the Office of Career Services at the University of West Georgia.
Cool. And I'll actually have you just look at me if you would.
Okay.
Oh, if you can. Yeah. We may end up having to close the door. So. And you can tell me who and you could just look at me. If you can tell me who the speaker was today, what he talked about, and what it meant to you, if anything.
Okay. Today I sat in on a session with Greg Steinberg, and he talked about getting back to greatness in the workplace and just in life in general. He challenged us to come up with a buzzword that's going to channel emotions and allow us to perform better at work. I created the buzzword of hot like fire because I know when I'm prepared and I have everything that I need to tell a student or to present to a class or to a group, I'm hot like fire when I'm prepared. So I think that's really going to help me continue to channel that positive energy and make a good impact on everyone.
Nicely said. And in general, this is my last question, but in general, could you see connections happening with the audience and stuff? Did he?
Most definitely. He challenged everyone to come up with that word or with their own word, and I think that's the good part about it is that it's internal for you. Everyone has their own buzzword and their own emotions to tap into, and so I love that it's so you can individualize that concept. So I'm excited to use it, and I'm looking forward to making sure that it works.
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh.
Okay.
All right.
If you could say your name and spell it for me and your title.
Okay. My name is Terrence Mosley. It's TarranceMosley. I'm the Alumni Career Coordinator for Kennesaw State University.
And if you could just actually look right there. And tell me who the speaker was and what if he inspired you.
Yeah. Today we had Dr. Greg Steinberg, did a fantastic job. We were so excited to have him close out our conference because what he did was really encapsulate all that we've talked about during our time here, which is how to access our talents and really focus on being successful. And Dr. Greg Steinberg did a great job of that today. Yeah.
Cool. And specifically, was there anything that you hadn't heard before?
Sure. I think the best thing that he talked about was, once again, how we access that performance. He told some great stories and how we think about the buzzwords. My buzzword was dig deeper, as far as how when I work with my students in career advising, how I work to get the good information out of them and how we work to find solutions for them. So it was very helpful, very helpful.
Anything
All right.
you want to add to that?
I think we're good.
Cool.
All
Good
right.
job.
Thank you.
Short. And $10 back to the organization, I guess. Or something. Actually, could you flip through that? I just have a close up of it, but it would kind of cool.
to you.
Are you, what's your another victim for?
Enjoy that very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Stuff I never know.
Yes, you'll be great.
Oh, you're so.
I'm gonna put you in Times Square.
There you go.
Thank you.
Enjoy that.
First, if you could just say your name and spell it for me and your title.
Ashley Jones, ASHLEY, JONES. I'm the Experiential Education Associate for Kennesaw State University.
So is everyone with Kennesaw here?
We have a big group, yes.
Okay, but not everyone. It's-
No, not everyone. We represent colleges and employers across the state of Georgia.
And okay. And actually, if you can just look at me.
Okay.
And did you spell your name? You did,
Yes,
right?
I did. Do you want me to do it again?
No, that's
Okay.
fine. I just was paying attention to this. Missed it. And if you could tell me who the speaker was today and what especially. Oh.
I don't remember his last name. I'm sorry. I just had,
Steinberg.
yeah.
And what his message meant to you personally.
Well, the speaker was Dr. Greg Steinberg, and the message meant to me personally was identifying my sweet spot and helping me to, in a moment of chaos, find some peace and calmness. And I think for me, I was using some of these techniques indirectly already. However, I had never really identified those sweet spots.
And can you tell me in general what it looked like? Did it look like the audience was engaged? Was he connecting with people?
I think his presentation was very engaging. The audience was very active and involved, and it was a very good presentation for the last day of conference.
Because everybody was hungover.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add? Or?
I really enjoyed the presentation specifically because I'd mentioned I was using these techniques already indirectly, but now I know how to identify my sweet spot and use it in that moment of chaos.